Welcome to LC Screen Talk. My name is Larry, and this is my review of Darkest Hour. The awards buzz was ringing around this film, and in particular, the lead performance from veteran Gary Oldman. So naturally, I was excited, I was curious, I wanted to see what all the hoopla was about. And in the end, I think this is a good film, but not a great one. So let's go ahead and talk about the positives first. A big positive for me was the cinematography. I think that this movie looks absolutely gorgeous. Pretty much at all times, I thought the cinematography was beautiful. Even when the lighting was dim or we were in more natural settings, it looked gorgeous. And I also think that the score here was really good. It wasn't a big bombastic score. It wasn't what so many impactful scores have become today. It was so fitting to the tone, and it helped move the story along. It helped inject emotion into every scene. So I thought the score was one of the strongest elements at play here. And I think the script is also very good. I also thought Lily James was wonderful. She had a supporting role here, and I think she played it very well. I don't know that there was actually all that much complexity or that much to do for her character, but what she was given, she did very well. Now I'm going to move into a middle ground, a mostly good, but a couple of problems areas of the film. The first of which is Gary Oldman, who is receiving the majority of nominations for this film, who is still in talks of winning Best Lead Actor come award season. And I have to say, for the majority of the film, he is very good. When he is conjuring up those big speeches, when he is delivering the emotions, when he's broken, when his character is just down, he's fantastic, and I completely understand why he's receiving these nominations. However, particularly in the beginning of the film, for almost the first whole third of the film, it felt almost overcharacterized, even more so than something like The Disaster Artist, which was going for something very distinct in its impersonation, whereas this film, I don't think was aiming for it, but he came off as almost a spoof of Winston Churchill. But while we're talking about Gary Oldman and Churchill, I have to give huge props to the makeup department. As I watched this film, I completely forgot that I was watching Gary Oldman because you can't see him. He is invisible amongst this amazing makeup work. And of course, part of that is due to Gary's performance itself, but even though he as an actor wasn't recognizable, I still felt that over-dramatization of this person. And then we move over to the directing, which I think was mostly really solid. It went hand in hand with the film looking gorgeous and the cinematography being really spot on. And the film did look gorgeous. It was gorgeously directed. However, there were some moments where I felt the directing was very strange. They would focus in on the most odd of details that then would transition with a very kind of clunky transition. It wasn't a smooth transition. It wasn't a seamless transition. For example, early on in the film, we're getting the typewriter going and we're listening to the speech, and then suddenly they decide to emphasize and slow scroll zoom in on the word sweat, and then zoom back in to Oldman's face. He wasn't really sweaty, which I guess wasn't a big problem because that's kind of gross. But also it was just like, did that word need the emphasis? It was just very strange, and that happened actually several times throughout the film. And I also think the direction failed a little bit in tone, and that's where we're really going to go into the negatives here. So much of this movie feels like a comedy. It feels like it just wants to be funny, it wants to be lighthearted and breezy. And that's the part that really didn't work all that well for me, if I'm being honest. Yes, a lot of it is funny, but as I mentioned with Gary Oldman's performance, it felt like we were doing a very cartoon version of a real Prime Minister. So it just felt odd, and some of that comedy leaked into the final acts or so, But for the most part, it really dominated the first act, was prevalent throughout most all of the second act, and then the third act we do really get hunkered down into the drama. And in particular, what really didn't work for me is we were dealing with death. We were dealing with really heavy subjects, people being killed in war. And it was being played very hokey in so many scenarios, where they would talk about this one thing and then we'd get weird quip from Churchill and we'd get weird reaction from this person. And it was off-putting. And I also think the film opens too many doors. It's a very short span of time that we focus on here, which is usually a positive in these biopics. However, we have a lot of different dynamics that the film intends for us to care about. So we're asked to focus on this sort of weird relationship between Lily James's character and Churchill. However, there's not really all that much connection, and then he breaks all these rules for her to kind of do nothing with it. She doesn't play a pivotal role in any breakthroughs. She's kind of just there to listen and to type. And it seemed very strange that her character's arc didn't really go anywhere. But the film put her in a position that made her feel like such an important player. But it never really played out that way. Same thing with his relationship with his wife and with his family. She has a really strong monologue, actually, near the beginning of the film that's wonderful. And it sets up her character's problem in the movie. And we don't revisit her much. We don't see her much. We don't really get much. And then at the end of the film, we're left with a scene that is supposed to make us really get feelings for this character, to really empathize with her. But it's kind of just we didn't get enough time for that. So overall, like so many of these historical character-driven dramas, this movie is good. It is centered around one actor's performance and fully relies on that one actor's performance to prop the rest of the film up. Unfortunately, this was a very solid performance from this actor, but whether that be from the direction, whether his own creative license, or possibly even the script itself, it's not a great performance, and thus the entire movie falls short of greatness. So I think this film is worth a matinee. It is well crafted, it has some very powerful scenes, some very entertaining scenes, and it's worth a watch. It's not a bad movie by any means. I just don't think it's quite the awards caliber film that it's been touted as to this point. So, that is my review of The Darkest Hour. I hope you've enjoyed it. If you did, go ahead, click like down below, and subscribe to the channel so you are always up to date on our latest videos. Also, join in on the discussion. Are you excited to see The Darkest Hour? And what is your favorite character-driven biopic about a British historical figure? Let me know either in the comment section down below, or you can hit me up on Twitter. I love you all so much for your support. Mwah! Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye!